Welcome back to the Gridiron Expert. Another week of college football means another week of predictions. And of course, guys, week 4 is shaping up to be a very big week of college football. We have 3 ranked versus ranked matchups. We're going to have individual prediction videos out for each of those games. And there were a lot of games to choose from for our top 5 kind of under-the-radar games. Games that are very, very important that maybe aren't being talked about nearly enough. It was very difficult to narrow it down to just 5. But we did the best we could. And today, guys, we're breaking down these 5 games, sharing our projected winners, giving you our analysis. But before we jump into those, please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos, and of course, check out everything down in the description below. Guys, if you want spread predictions for some of those top 25 matchups, for some of the games up here on the board, make sure to go sign up for those expert picks over on our website, thegridironexpert.com. There you will find some of the best college football and NFL spread predictions in the entire country, each of which beat out over 80% of the national analysts each of the last 4 years. We're hitting over 63% of our bets so far this season. You do not want to miss out on those picks, guys, because we guarantee that you will win some big-time money by season's end. We've never finished with a losing record. We've beat out over 80% of the national analysts, and that's not going to change this year. So go sign up for that today. Join our Gridiron Expert Nation today. Become a part of the family and what we're building here on the channel. Subscribe and check out those picks down in the description. So let's take a look, guys. 5 big games up here. Why is week 4 so important? Well, it really kicks off the bulk of conference play for a lot of programs, right? We have a couple big non-conference games up there. Got one up here right now, but a lot of teams are beginning the majority of their conference play, which just means it's getting real. We're getting down to the real big stuff of college football. The first game we're talking about is number 17 Baylor at Iowa State. So a huge Big 12 conference showdown on Saturday morning. This has been a really fun rivalry series over these last few years, guys. Baylor and Iowa State have split the last 6 meetings. But the last 3 have been decided by a combined 11 points. Last 3 decided by a combined 11 points. Baylor won last year 31-29 against the Cyclones, and that was kind of the game that not only ruined Iowa State's kind of season in a way, gave the Cyclones their second loss, but kind of showed that, hey, Baylor might be legit. And obviously they were. Won the Big 12, won 12 games, won the Sugar Bowl. So a lot of emotions coming into this one. Baylor still, to me, a playoff contender, only 1 loss to a BYU team on the road, still a Big 12 title contender, but Iowa State has surprised a lot of people, sitting at 3-0. One of the biggest wins, of course, coming on the road at Iowa just a few weeks ago. You look at the numbers, though. Baylor has one of the most balanced offenses in the country. The Bears averaging nearly 220 passing yards per game, over 230 rushing yards per game. So very, very balanced, just like they were last year. Iowa State's defense, though, has been a strength for them, allowing just 234.3 total yards per game and only 60 on the ground. Iowa, of course, their biggest win for the Cyclones. But you look at the Cyclones' offense, it's been a little bit surprising, too. Hunter Dekkers has done a very good job filling in for Brock Purdy. You know, Purdy departs to the NFL. Dekkers comes in young, relatively inexperienced, has already thrown for 745 yards and 8 touchdowns this season. Well, this comes down to, guys, what the bottom line storyline is Baylor is arguably facing the best defense they've seen this year. You know, BYU was good, but I would say Iowa State is the best defense Baylor has seen so far this year. Iowa State is facing the best offense they've seen this year, and maybe just the best overall team they've seen this year as a whole. Winning at Kinnick is tough, but Iowa, we know how rough they can be. Ultimately, guys, it's a 50-50 game. It's tough, but I'm leaning towards Baylor. If I'm having to pick, I'm going with the Bears. A team that's a little bit more experienced across the board, more experienced quarterback, I'd say, in Blake Shapen. The skill positions are starting to come together. Love this Bears defense. Love Dave Aranda, and I think we're going to see another close one-possession game. I'm giving the edge to the reigning champions in the Bears. So should be a fun one to kick off your Saturday. How about Duke and Kansas? If you had told me a couple weeks ago this would be one of our top 5 games, I would have laughed at you. But both of these teams are 3-0, guys. Duke and Kansas in football. This is not a Final Four matchup or a national championship matchup in basketball. This is a football game between the Blue Devils and the Jayhawks. Both teams are 3-0, which means by the end of Saturday, either Duke or Kansas is going to be 4-0 on the season. That's unreal. That's crazy. You know, Duke has already matched last year's win total. First-year head coach Mike Elko already matched last year's win total. Kansas has their first 3-0 start since 2009. beat West Virginia on the road, beat Houston on the road, and you're sitting here wondering, how are Duke and Kansas both 3-0? What is seeing this resurgence of these two predominantly basketball schools? Well, it's offense. The offense for both Duke and Kansas has been unbelievable. The Blue Devils, 460.3 yards per game this year. Riley Leonard at quarterback has been phenomenal. Very accurate, reliable, 723 yards and 5 touchdowns. The team also averaging 205 rushing yards per game. So Duke, explosive on offense and does have a quality win at Northwestern earlier a couple weeks ago. Kansas, on the other hand, their offense has come out of nowhere. 259 rushing yards per game on the year, 53 points per game so far. Jalen Daniels, their quarterback, 566 yards and 7 touchdowns. He's also the team's leading rusher with over 230 yards and 3 touchdowns. So 10 total touchdowns. I mean, this has been truly an unbelievable resurgence for both teams. Now, as conference play begins, both could falter. But what a start, what a turnaround, and what a bright future both of these programs have. Ultimately, though, guys, even though Duke won last year, right, 52-33 last year, that was last year, put it in the past. This Kansas team is legit. You know, I'm not saying they're going to win the Big 12. They might not even make a bowl. But a road win at West Virginia, a blowout road win at Houston. I love Lance Leipold and what he's doing in Lawrence. Also should be noted that the last time that this game was played in Kansas, these two teams have met 3 times. The first ever meeting was in Kansas back in 2009, which was the last time that Kansas started 3-0. Kansas won that game. I think they do it again, and the Jayhawks are going to be 4-0. Unbelievable job by Lance Leipold. Should be a fun game. No one's going to talk about it. Basketball school could be the Final Four matchup in a couple months, but for now on the football field, this is going to be a fun one. Number 15, Oregon at Washington State. This is a very underrated trap game. Oregon guys, fresh off that big victory over BYU, 41-20. The Ducks back in the top 15, rightfully so. Washington State, though, can't sleep on them. They're 3-0, have a quality road win at Wisconsin, and really this is going to be a great quarterback battle, right? You got to hope if you're Oregon that Bo Nix puts on the same performance that he had last week against BYU. Had 5 total touchdowns, 3 of them coming on the ground. On the year, has 672 yards and 7 total touchdowns through the air. Cameron Ward, on the other hand, the transfer from Incarnate Word, comes into Washington State, has thrown for over 700 yards and 8 touchdowns. And I would say the Cougars' offense hasn't been as electric and explosive as we thought they would be, but Ward certainly has brought some quarterback consistency to a Cougars program that really didn't have much of it last year. No, Jaden DeLora was there, but Ward is doing a pretty good job and really bringing consistency to that offense. The one thing that I think people don't realize with Washington State, though, is their defense. Their defense has been very, very stingy so far this year, allowing just 12.7 points per game, just 307.7 yards per game. And last year, the Cougars were one of the best teams in the country when it came to turnover margin, and were one of the best teams in the country when it came to creating pressure on opposing quarterbacks. They're doing the same again this year. The Cougars already have 14 sacks on the year. They're 3-0. Jake Dickert's doing a fantastic job in Pullman. And Pullman, as we know, is not an easy place to play. To me, a very underrated place to play. I like Washington State to pull off an upset over Oregon. We picked this game back in like June and July. We said Washington State would upset the Ducks. I'm sticking with that pick. I love Jake Dickert. I love Cameron Ward. I think Oregon is the real deal. I think we saw that last week against BYU. But now they're going on the road against a pumped-up Cougars team. Bo Nix fluctuates with inconsistency, traditionally better at home than he is on the road. It's a road game. The Cougars get after him, force at least 2 turnovers off of him. Cameron Ward and the Cougars take advantage, and they are 4-0. They are 4-0. Will be a ranked team. And the Pac-12 continuing to spiral out of control with just so many newcomers. Washington State, USC, Utah, Washington's in there now. You never know what's going to happen in the mighty, wild Pac-12. But the Cougars pull off a massive upset on Saturday afternoon. How about Wisconsin at number 3, Ohio State? We can touch on this real quick. It's a big game because it's a cross-division game. The West and the East could be a preview of the Big Ten championship game, depending on what happens really in the Western Division. But you look at this. It's the traditional storyline here. It's Wisconsin's mighty defense against Ohio State's mighty offense. Wisconsin team that's allowing just 8 points per game so far this year, just 246 total yards per game, facing an Ohio State offense that's averaging over 565 yards per game, over 358 through the air, and over 200 on the ground. I mean, we knew this was going to be one of the best offenses in the country this year. They're proving to be just that, although getting a lot of stat padding last week against Toledo. They faced Notre Dame, Arkansas State, and Toledo. So certainly the first true defensive test they've had. Notre Dame, solid defensively, but we've seen how they faltered throughout the last few weeks. So Ohio State facing their first true defensive test in the Badgers. Bottom line is, all Ohio State's improving defense has to do is shut down a Wisconsin run game that's averaging 218 rushing yards per game. Easier said than done. But the Buckeyes do that. Graham Mertz for Wisconsin cannot win this game through the air. I have no faith in the Wisconsin passing attack, and I have no faith in Graham Mertz. The game's at the Horseshoe. It's going to be at night. It may be close for a half, but Ohio State will pull away, get a signature victory, remain a top 4 team. And then finally, guys, in the Pac-12, number 7 USC at Oregon State. Another major trap game within this Pac-12 conference. You know, this is probably USC's first true test, guys. They played Rice, Stanford, and Fresno State. Now they're going on the road to take on an Oregon State team that is 3-0 and beat the Trojans 45-27 last year. Again, a lot has changed for USC. USC didn't have Lincoln Riley or Caleb Williams or Jordan Addison or any of those guys last year. So much has changed. USC was not a top 10 team last year. Both these teams, though, guys, have fantastic offenses. The Beavers averaging over 468 yards per game. USC averaging 520 yards per game. The key I'm looking at here, Oregon State is averaging 190 rushing yards per game. The Trojans are allowing 177. So USC's defense, which has kind of been the question mark for these last few weeks, guys. We know how great the offense can be, but can the defense step up and make the plays? Can the Trojans shut down the Beavers' offense, make them one-dimensional? That's what they have to do to win in Corvallis, which, very similar to Pullman, to me is a very underrated place, a very underrated home field advantage. But when it comes down to it, guys, the Trojans do own the offensive edge. They do own the quarterback edge. If the Trojans do shut down that ground game, I don't have faith in Chance Nolan to deliver this game through the air for the Beavers. This game will be high scoring. I think it will be closer than people think, but I'm leaning with USC. I've been skeptical of them for these last few weeks. I'm not saying this is going to change my mind because this isn't a ranked Pac-12 team. They have yet to face, an Oregon or a Utah or a Washington or guys like that. But this is still a good Beavers team led by Jonathan Smith. Still a good team. We're going to see a close, fun game on Saturday night, but I like the Trojans to get another quality road Pac-12 win under Lincoln Riley, improve to 4-0, which will, of course, keep them in the playoff discussion and keep them in the top 10. So, guys, there you have it. A big week 4. These were just the 5 games that we picked. A lot of other ones out there that we weren't able to put on this list, but were very, very close. That doesn't even include the 3 ranked versus ranked matches that we have. 2 big ones in the SEC, with Arkansas and A&M, Tennessee and Florida, got Clemson and Wake Forest. Those are the big ones that we're going to have individual videos out for over these next few days. So make sure to stay tuned for that. More prediction videos on the way. We've got a huge week 4 of college football that by the end of the night, by the end of Saturday night, will begin to shape the way the rest of the season will pan out. So get ready, guys. Get ready for another fantastic weekend and all the analysis we have coming for you right here on the Gridiron Expert. So having said all that, guys, thank you so much for watching. Please continue to like, comment, subscribe, share our videos. Of course, make sure to become a part of the nation, guys. Check out everything down in the description below. Go sign up for those expert picks. Check out all the offers, the exclusive content we have for you down in the description. But we want you to become a part of our growing nation, our growing family right here on the channel. So like, comment, subscribe. Check out everything below. Become a part of the GE Nation. And make sure to come back right here tomorrow, right here on the Gridiron Expert.